Welcome to the My Inner Struggle podcast, where we have real, honest conversations about everything personal growth, lifestyle, and business. I'm your host, Laura Ferry. Okay, let's just say it. You might be the problem. And I don't say that to shame you. I say that because it's the best news. Because if you're the problem, that means that you're also the solution. I spent years clinging to outcomes, forcing things to work, holding on so tight to what I thought I needed, and I didn't realize how much of my own joy, peace, and clarity I was blocking. In this week's episode of the My Inner Struggle podcast, I'm talking about the power of letting go, taking personal responsibility and leading from the inside out. If you've been feeling stuck, like something keeps breaking or slipping or not aligning, this episode might be your mirror. Let's talk about it. Grab a cup of coffee and come get uncomfortable with me. If you've seen the clip going around, I did a speech earlier this week at the Sussex County Chamber of Commerce. And I was specifically speaking to business owners, management leaders, anybody in that leadership position that I know has a line in it that hit home for a lot of people. And a lot of people approached me after I spoke and kind of said like, wow, holy crap. Like, that was spot on. And I work with someone or I know that this actually nonprofit or business can benefit from something that I can bring into the workplace to help people kind of get through their bullshit, but then also teach people how to communicate better within business, because the way that we carry ourselves is really important. So the line that I'm speaking about is, you might be the problem, but I promise you, you are also the solution. Who we are is how we lead. And I've said it a couple times. I think I mentioned it in the podcast last week too. Today, I want to break that down a little bit because it isn't about blame at all. It's about ownership. It's about grace. It's about letting go of the things that are quietly keeping you stuck. And I want to talk about that because nobody really talks about that. We struggle with things in ourselves, but we might not have the resources or, the people around us that are really of the same mindset or want to have a growth mindset. I've been encountering actually, I'm going to talk about it. The more I am exposed, I keep saying the word like exposed. So the more people that are discovering what it is that I'm doing, I haven't been on their radar, or they might have seen me at a meeting or something like that. And they're like, it's another coach or whatever it is. But the more I'm exposed, the better people I'm meeting, but then also kind of the shittier people I'm meeting. The better you do, the more the people come out of the woodwork to sort of criticize because they're looking at themselves or wondering why they're not doing the thing to better themselves or to grow in their business. And so that's why I have to say, like, who you are is how you lead. And I'm not even talking about leading a company. I'm talking about your personal life, how you conduct yourself, how the relationships that you're carrying around you, whether it be with coworkers or the people you manage, or your relationships in your personal life, your partner or your friends. Like, who you are is how you lead yourself. And that's true, like, even as a parent too, right? Because we talk about parenting and how, if you're not confident in what you're doing, that can sort of ripple out into everything that you're doing. For so long, I tried to control the outcome. And for years, I can remember speaking with a coach or a therapist or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know what my action is. I don't know what I should do. That was always my question. Like, I can see the sort of the situation from an observation point of view, but I don't know what my action is to take. I don't know how far to push it, because when you're used to, or when you want to push the envelope and not necessarily take no for an answer, what is it? When do you decide to push harder and when do you decide to like back off? So that's out of control, and that can be out of sometimes, and that can also be out of a scarcity mindset because you're trying to control the outcome. Every outcome, every conversation, every decision. and you just simply can't. And letting go of that was part of that spiritual awakening that I experienced. And I talk about it in my book, Is It an Open Bar, which is available on Amazon and on my website, myinnerstruggle.com, that I was at the lowest of lows and I had no choice. I think that was the defining moment that I have control over literally nothing, and that I thought that I was headed in one direction and I wasn't, and that direction was not meant for me, and so many things in business, in my personal life, and in love, and all of it. And that defining moment where I felt like my call was answered, and I talk about it in my book, really let me let go of those things and hold in faith in God, in the universe, in myself, that I was going to be led in the right direction. And it's like peeling an onion, the layers of letting go and letting go and letting go, and just letting just everything align instead of forcing something or being in that scarcity mindset where it's not enough, and I have to keep driving and going and going. And I was holding on so tight to that version of life or business that I thought I needed, that version that I thought would fix it all and make me feel whole and make everything make sense. But once I let go of that feeling, that's when everything started changing. I was gripping on so hard that I didn't leave room for what was meant for me, not necessarily what I wanted, right? And we've all kind of heard those sayings before, like what's meant to be will happen when we, like those are like cliche. And I would say, I'm letting go. And for probably the last 9 years, I've been talking in my blog about letting go and letting go. But when I talk about an onion, I'm not fucking kidding. There are so many levels of letting go that you just have to keep doing it, and you'll arrive at different situations with different people or different scenarios of kind of the same thing until you learn these lessons. And that, okay, I dove back into that didn't really serve me. I'm going to learn my lesson and I'm going to do better the next time, and not beat yourself up over it. We hold on tight because we're afraid, and that is contribution of a scarcity mindset, right? So when we're talking like, this has to work, I have no other choice or whatever. But when you let go is like when the things start flowing. It gives us this illusion of safety in a way, if we feel like we have control over the situation. But all that clenching and all that scarcity, and the patterns and everything else that goes along with it doesn't feel good when you're sitting there scrambling all the time to figure out like what's next, where do I go from here, and you're trying to force the outcome that you think is the best. You cannot force peace by holding your breath. I like that saying. You cannot force peace by holding your breath. You have to keep breathing through it, and just, like I said, letting go. You have to breathe in order to let go. And I take a couple classes with a good friend of mine, Carly, who is an amazing breathwork coach. And we'll be doing something and she's leading us in something and she's like, don't forget to breathe. And half the time you're like, oh shit, I forgot to breathe. Same thing in life. When you're so clenched in the outcome that you are holding your breath, and you really can't do that. Your breath is a guide to that letting go. One thing I always say to my clients, especially my business clients, and I started talking about this recently, and I know that I came out with it, I think I said it last week, is that I just sort of rebranded some things. I have been a personal and individual coach and host of the Self-Love Club, which is an online community for women to gain confidence through community and connection. And it's a beautiful thing. And we jump on a coaching call every Sunday evening to start our week off right. And it's just great camaraderie and support from other women that are kind of like in the same position. And it's a really just beautiful thing. And I love that. And I've been doing coaching individuals, and then I also coach in business. And that all started, honestly, with bookkeeping. finance. And, what I like to say to my business clients, especially, your business, it's not just a business, it's a mirror. It's a reflection of you. So if your business is like all over the fucking place, that is like your brain out there. And we can attribute that to like our personal lives too, right? When I started dating years ago after I was divorced, I can remember thinking I had gone on a few dates with this guy, and he came over, and I felt like my house was like a mess. And when I went to his house, it was like very neatly organized and everything. It took me a couple years to kind of like reflect back on that. And I was like, man, that was like 6 years ago. And I can remember where my head was at in that time. So like our space, your office, your home, all of that is a reflection of like what's going on up here. So that's why when I talk about it, especially in the self-love club, we'll talk about our different habits and things that we do to, clean our space or to have us wake up in a space that inspires you. Your office should be no different. It should be organized, and it should, be to the point where you can just step in and be productive. And if it's not, then you spend a little time and get it to the point where you need it to be so that you can be more productive. And I'm sidetracking myself now. But I remember going back to that date, that guy that I was had a few dates with, and how a few years later I was like, man, I was really not in a good spot to be dating or seeking out a relationship, because I was really still all over the place. I wasn't fully healed yet. I didn't know, I wasn't as organized like I am now, obviously, but this is going back like 6 years. And I kind of remember that. And I was like, I remember, going on a couple dates with, another guy, and I went to his house, and he had told me that, he had gone grocery shopping a few days before. And when I went to his house, there was groceries, not like anything that would go bad, cans or whatever, sitting in a bag on the floor in the kitchen. And I remember observing that and going, that was a few days ago, and he still hasn't been able to put those groceries away. And it's not out of judgment. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he might not have been in the right space. So after I had, gone through some of my own personal growth, realizing that, it's kind of interesting, right? So when we're in business and we're always clenching on to the outcome, or saying that we need a certain thing, or product, or money, it's never enough. Well, of course, when you're trying to build something, you need money. Yes. And when, you're starting a business, money can be scarce for a long time, and you have to pick and choose, what your priorities are. But when you're so hungry for that money, the outcome, it changes everything. It changes how you show up in a meeting. It changes how, you present, yourself in a networking aspect. If you're like clinging on and you have just this robot response, and you're not authentically yourself, you're not selling, yourself, you're selling that scarcity, that struggle, that, you're putting all your problems out on the table, and people don't want to buy your problems. They want to believe in your product because you do. And that's the light that you're shining. So, going back to the speech, we're talking about, your team, your clients, your schedule, and how you lead yourself. And is it with confidence, or is it in a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset? That's kind of like one of those buzzwords that's like floating around, is an abundance mindset. And I've used it myself, because we want to be abundant, but just saying that I'm abundant isn't really getting it all the way there. We want to lead with abundance. And when I say abundance, I'm not talking about money necessarily. I'm talking about with abundant confidence or care or love, because I talk about love a lot. And it's, on a side note, I had a really great conversation with another coach this morning, and it was really eye-opening, because she coaches in a different aspect, or a different target client, I would say. And, we say this all the time, like when someone becomes a coach and they take those steps to do that, it's kind of, usually related to what they were struggling with. And I've never really given myself the label of like a self-love coach, but as I was talking to her, I was like, I was always just kind of looking for someone to love me because I didn't receive that love that I needed growing up. And so that's again all in my book. And when I help people, it's helping people in those parts that I struggled with myself. And generally those people are the ones that make the best therapists and the best coaches, that have had those similar experiences. And that's like what you're attracting, right? When you're being authentically yourself, genuine connection. So your relationship is also a mirror of what it is. Your team, your clients, your schedule. If you're feeling stuck, burnt out, you're people pleasing, you're micromanaging. I've definitely worked for some micromanagers, and the thing is, it's not about abundance in that aspect, right? That's their shit that they have to like let go of. So if you feel like you need to control every aspect of everything, there's something that you need to look at within yourself. Like, why aren't you trusting these people to do their job? Do you not have the right people on your team to do the job? Because if you can't let go and let them do what that they were hired to do, there's a problem. So maybe you either need to train them better. They also should know their expectations, because if your employee, coworker, whatever, don't know their expectations, they're never going to meet yours. So that has to be abundantly clear. How many times has someone been promoted because they were amazing at what they do, but they never really learned how to manage people? Which is like really important. And I think it oftentimes gets like glossed over because they, there's too much going on, or it's too busy. We can't stop and fix that. But that's like the most fucking important thing you can do, because your people are what make your business. If you don't have happy employees, they're not going to emulate that onto your clients. They're going to talk when they're off of work. They're going to just fester that bad feeling when they're in the office, and there goes your employee morale. There goes a lot of things, and making cynical jokes and things like that all the time isn't really about like a joke about how crappy it is here or whatever. It's not really going to boost morale. No, it's like cancer. It just keeps spreading. So those people that get promoted into management positions because they're good at what they do is awesome. But when you can have somebody come in and help you teach them how to manage people, how to communicate better, how to have uncomfortable conversations and all of that. So I definitely love what I do. I love going into businesses and helping them kind of open the kimono, if you will. And we talk about everything from getting your finances in order, your books. There's a lot of small business owners that have no idea how much money they have. They have no idea how much money is coming in, what's going out, or what to expect when. And that is the most important thing that you can ever know about your business. Because if you don't have that information, that basic information, what are you even doing? And then from there, I will work with the business owner and the management team, or team leads, to kind of help better their, interpersonal skills and work together as a team and lead with a common cause. And that's really important. We also do like team building activities and things like that, and maintain books on a monthly basis. So those are all some things that I have been growing, that I don't really talk about on here. So I'm going to just start talking about it. And as I merged everything together, in came Laura Ferry Growth Co., which is really cool. And my new website is up. It's lauraferry.com. Just leading to like where all of those things are. My inner struggle, will remain my inner struggle. It's, something that we just keep growing. I'm never going to stop growing, and I'm never going to stop sharing that piece of me, because I think that's really important for me. It's a good outlet, and I enjoy it, and I know that people get a lot out of it. And that was the whole reason that I started it, was so that someone else didn't feel as alone as I did during those years of struggle that I was going through. So whether you're a business owner or a manager, I can help you reconnect with your values, your voice, your vision, your people, which is really important. Because when you lead from a place of fear or insecurity, fear leads everyone else, and we don't want that at all. So it's not about, when I talk about, I want to go back to like clinging on to a certain outcome. Like if you want certain employees to behave a certain way or conduct themselves in a certain way, you think about like that bully, right? Think about the bully that you had like in grade school. And really what they probably needed was a really big hug. It's not about arguing, it's about letting go with grace and not, standing. It's not standing up for what's right, but it's about respectfully listening, actively listening. I've talked about that, not listening to respond. Nothing has to be said in that moment if it's not warranted. And so that's something that I've learned, and it's changed a lot of things for me, without a doubt. So it's not about arguing, it's about grace, giving it a little grace and letting it go, letting the situation cool down and stepping back and stepping into your power and just kind of then moving forward, having, a separate conversation if you really feel that something would be best in another way or whatever. One thing I guess that as far as letting go is that I started realizing as I was developing myself as a coach that their growth, whoever I'm working with, say it's an individual, I can only give them the tools. The cadence, speed, or what they do with that is up to them. So letting go of that outcome was huge. And that's probably what really fueled that growth, because I would work with clients and each week they'd come in and kind of complain and they wouldn't have done their homework or used their tools, or or just sitting in that space where they just want to like vomit everything to you. I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach. We work on forward movement. And the coach that I met with today, she said the greatest thing. She's like, coaching is best in conjunction with therapy, because then you're able to, and she's so right, you're able to work on that old stuff with a therapist while moving forward. So if you are being triggered by something when you're moving forward and working through things, and this is in business and your personal life, you have a therapist to then go back and work on healing that inner child if you need to, or whatever was triggering you from that. You can also, I'm a huge fan of therapy. So I think I think everybody should go to therapy at some point. But if that is something that doesn't fit into your life, whether it's financially or otherwise, there are tools definitely that you can use to help yourself dig back. And journaling is one of them. And I'm a huge fan of journaling, obviously, because I love to write and share my thoughts and feelings. Being right won't heal you in that situation where I'm saying like being right won't heal you, but being honest with yourself will. That's the part where you ask, am I the common denominator? This keeps happening. Am I the problem? And I tend to ask myself in a lot of situations. I've been encountering these other coaches or business owners that are sometimes, they're quite frankly toxic. And especially in a coaching world, you're supposed to be this person that has been evolved and is helping other people, but what you're bringing to the table is toxic. And the fact that you keep making backhanded comments to me in networking meetings kind of sucks. And so you just kind of take that with a grain of salt. Like I said, the more exposed I am and the more groups that I visit or join or whatever, and I'm talking about my peers, it's a reflection of their growth and where they are. So if I'm having success at what I'm doing, and they're making snarky comments, in a networking meeting, it's a reflection of them. It's not me. Like, up your game if you need to, or start with the inside and start working your way out. Do some genuine connection with yourself so that you can figure out who you are before you start emulating what everyone else is doing. You can only fake it for so long. And I was really struggling with that for the past week, because I keep encountering these same people, and I was getting a little discouraged until, I have discussions with people that are kind of in the same mindset of myself. And it's beautiful that I have those people now to be able to talk to. Are you the common denominator? And if you're repeating the same patterns or blaming the people around you, it's like their fault that happened. It's the bank's fault that they bounced the check. It's this or it's that or whatever. And there's a lot of small business owners that like to place the blame on something else until they take a good hard look at the inside of themselves and figure out that there is something wrong with the process of your doing things. And you have to take responsibility for yourself. It is not the bank's fault that the check bounced. That is your fault. That's okay. It doesn't have to come with shame. We've all been there at some point. But okay, take responsibility for it and do better. That's it. It's not the bank's fault. So when you think about those things, you have to give yourself a little grace. You are human and you only have control over yourself. The more quiet, I should say, we get, the more control we have over ourselves. So when you start being that observer or that active listener, rather than reacting to everything, that is where the power lies. And sometimes I would always have trouble. I would interrupt people when they were talking and stuff, because I was not necessarily needed to fight back, but I was so excited about what I was going to say, I was going to forget it. And for a long time, I'd be like, okay, so I'm listening, and I'd be repeating the thing in my head, so I don't forget. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? If it's that good, if it's this morsel that I need to mention, it'll come back to me. When it's my turn to speak, I'm not going to worry about that. And that took a long time to overcome. Just to kind of recap, when I stopped clinging to the things that weren't for me, the wrong relationships, the wrong clients, I let go of a client that was pretty damn good. It was a bookkeeping client, and we were collaborating with a few end users to do finance, and he was awful. I didn't even want to be in the same room with him. It was awful. And after 2 weeks of working together, I had to let that go. And that was really tough, because you think about, okay, I'm building a business, right? And this person doesn't align with me. However, I need the money. I need the money to grow my business, to support my children, to keep moving. But when someone is not, his energy was sucking my will to live. And I definitely did not start my own business to get the Sunday scaries. So I had to make a tough decision. I have this opportunity in front of me that is really great. I've given it 2 weeks, and then I decided to let that go. And I really, really thought and prayed hard on that decision. But it also felt really, really liberating. And the following day, after I had let that client go and I had given him, it was more of a collaboration than a client, I would say. It was a good potential opportunity. And at the end of the day, when I let that go, another opportunity fell into my lap for something better. And so letting go is the hardest part. I've said it so many times. But especially when I'm the only one supporting my children. So it's really hard to say no to an opportunity that could provide us, with money to eat and pay our mortgage and all of those things. But if it's not in alignment with where I want to be, I don't want it. It's not for me. And so I let that go, and a new opportunity fell into my lap that very same day. And I'm looking forward to this beautiful collaboration with another individual, and she is wonderful. And I can't wait to start that project. That's one of those things where I felt really bad and I felt kind of responsible because I also like helping people. And he is definitely needing to do some work. And I hope that he does. And it wasn't really my place to be the one to fix it, unfortunately. So when we stop clinging to those things, that scarcity mindset, I could have stayed in that space for a while and it would have been fruitful financially, but I don't want to be a part of that energy because that's going to ripple into everything. I'm going to come home at the end of the day and be cranky because I had to associate with him all day and his negative energy. And I don't want that in my house, and I don't want that in my life, and I don't want that for my children. So when you stop clinging to things that aren't for you, the wrong relationships, the wrong clients, the wrong timeline, you make space for something better. Joy, ease, and alignment. Maybe that's your new mantra. You can take that with you through the week. And letting go doesn't mean giving up. There's a big difference. It's about making room for something bigger, something better. Don't micromanage your own healing. Just go with what feels good. And I say that all the time. Your happiness is going to look different from someone else's version of happiness, and that's okay. So I hope that helped you. And I hope that you're able to kind of sit in the observer seat with yourself. Say for the next week, take that as your homework. You might be the problem. And we're all a problem at some point. We're all toxic in some situation at some point. And I know I definitely was too. But you are also the solution. So I hope that you found this fruitful and you got something out of it today. If this resonated with you, if you enjoyed it, please give me a like, shoot me a message on social, tell me how it helps. And if you enjoyed it, please share it with someone that you feel could benefit from it as well. Please subscribe wherever you are listening or watching and give it a like. And if you want to go deeper, visit lauraferry.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to work with you and see what kind of relationship we could build together. You'll find more of information about coaching, about CEO coaching, the Growth Leader, the Self-Love Club, and My Inner Struggle, all at lauraferry.com. So until next time, I am thinking of you and sending you love, and I will see you soon.